Welcome everyone to the first episode of MBL Blitz. I'm your host Spencer Murray. This show is going to be all about bringing you the developing stories and news in the MBL. This is September 27th, 2016. We are currently in week 6 of the MBL. Let's get to it. First off here, I'm going to talk about some contract signings and negotiations going on here in the MBL. I'm going to hit Le'Veon Bell first. Huge signing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. 5 years, $70 million. You can't go wrong there. You got your guy for probably the rest of his career. If he holds on for another 2 or 3 years afterwards, he'll probably end up signing there too. Great signing. Not much depth there. D'Angelo Williams maybe has 1 more year left. He is known to be injury prone, but he usually plays at least 10 to 12 games a season, and you get what you pay for out of him. This guy is a stud. He's going to be a stud, and now you're set for a good while, and it should cause a lot of havoc there in the AFC North, as the Steelers are always a playoff team and always in the hunt for the championship. Next up, we have Kansas City Chiefs signing Eric Berry, 4 years for $41 million. That is a great signing. I'm not just saying that because of myself here, but that secondary is still young. Berry's going to stay there. He's going to have the leadership to lead those guys. He's always going to be there, over the top, ready to hit hard, ready to stop the run. Marcus Peters is coming into his own. There's still some holes to fill up there, but having Berry up there for 4 more years solidifies maybe another free agent wants to come and play for that team, or maybe they get a young guy in the draft that needs some direction. Berry's that guy to go. Now, in other news, we have some contract negotiations that have kind of stalled with a couple of teams. I'm going to hit on a couple of those. We're going to start off with Vincent Jackson, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Vincent Jackson and the front office of Tampa Bay are button heads. They can't come to a decision on how much Vincent Jackson's worth. Vincent Jackson's a little up there in age. He's still got hands. He's still a huge target there in the red zone, and he feels like he's worth more. Well, I'm looking at it as this Bucs offense is struggling right now, and I'm going to hit a little bit on that later on in the show. But maybe Vincent Jackson's thinking right now, this offense isn't rolling. I've only got a couple more years left, if that, maybe 1 more year, and this offense is going nowhere. I want a chance for a ring. Maybe Tampa Bay is not the spot. So maybe it's not contract negotiation stalling. Maybe it's Vincent Jackson and his agent not even attempting to meet with Tampa Bay and not even attempting to get any kind of deal done. Maybe Vincent Jackson has decided to test free agency and try next year at a Super Bowl contender or someone that's going to pay him enough money to let him live the rest of his life with no issue. We'll definitely keep an eye on that more as the season goes on and as more news trickles out of Tampa Bay. But it's not looking good there. On another note, we have the Arizona Cardinals not being able to reach a deal with Evan Mathis at this time. He is an older offensive lineman nearing the end of his career, and they couldn't get a deal done. They're still not getting a deal done. They're butting heads. But Arizona has told me that they will not hesitate to use the franchise tag if necessary. Now, that franchise tag could end up coming to bite Arizona a little bit later on, not knowing how expensive it's going to be. There's still some more signings to get done during the season. That price could be hefty for an older guy. It might be smart to wait for the draft or wait for free agency and pick up somebody to just fill that spot until you can find that guy. I don't think spending a big chunk of money on Evan Mathis is the right decision. There's plenty of offensive linemen out there that could easily be interchanged into that right guard spot, and it would only be the smart thing to do to just let him walk, let another team try and haggle him and get his price lower, and Arizona just needs to move on, let him walk, and just go from there. All right, let's talk about a story that's causing a little bit of confusion here in the league. Robert Woods in the preseason here for the Buffalo Bills got nothing but hype and promise, and they were excited about how good he looked, and they're ready to use him and utilize him and his fast, speedy ways to complement Sammy Watkins. And they go and sign Roddy White out of free agency, who was sitting there for a while for a reason. He's 34 years old. He doesn't have much left in the tank. He's not as fast as he used to be, not as quick as he used to be. His hands are still there, no question, but he doesn't really offer much outside of a security blanket, someone that you know is going to be there, you know is going to catch the ball over the middle in space, you know, contest a one-on-one. He's going to be that guy. Once they sign Roddy White, they move him to the number 2 slot on their depth chart, which absolutely blows my mind. This guy just comes in and is automatically the number 2 guy over Robert Woods, over the other younger guys that you've been building throughout preseason, hyping throughout preseason. It makes no sense. Why wouldn't you bring him in as a 4 or a 5 for veteran leadership, getting Robert Woods ready? He's 24 years old. It's his time. He's been in Buffalo for a few years. He's ready to go. And, you know, just looking at the stats here, I mean, Robert Woods is still being used effectively, but, you know, this is coming out of the number 3 spot. 20 catches for 492, 4 touchdowns. He's averaging, you know, 82 yards a game, which isn't bad. But Roddy White, on the other hand, he has the most receptions on the team. So, of course, he's being looked to in those third down moments. You know, 3rd and 3, you need a quick out. 3rd and 2, you need a quick curl, over the middle drag real quick just to get, you know, a few yards. Roddy White's that guy. He's got the hands for it. I guess it's working out for him, you know, but we're almost midway through the season, and it's only a matter of time before he starts getting nagged with small injuries and fatigue, and, you know, who knows if he can last a whole season anymore. Yeah, he's got the talent, but can he last a full 16-game season? I mean, you're in the AFC East. That's just a huge chance to take, and I guess we're just going to have to see how it all pans out. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe down below. If you have a Twitter account, make sure to follow us at Bomber League or at MBL Network. Plenty of content, August to August. We stay going throughout the whole entire year until the next Madden releases. We have a Commissioner's Corner podcast coming out this weekend, also detailing on some developing stories and news in the league, as well as giving tips and help to any other commissioners out there that need help keeping their leagues full and running from August to August. All right, let's get into this Pats and Vikings trade from week 2. The Patriots send a couple picks to the Vikings in return for Captain Munnerlyn and another pick. The Vikings, smart move on the Vikings ownership there, Homer. Munnerlyn was expendable. You've got young guys like Mackenzie Alexander, Xavier Rhodes, Sherrills, who's a special teamer, Terrence Newman, who can be that guy in, you know, deep ball situations. He's a little older. He doesn't have the same speed on him, but he can still cover. So you've got 4 guys that can hold out until Trey Waynes comes back from his injury. And Munnerlyn was expendable. The Patriots were hurting. Their corners have been going down all year. They can't stay healthy. At one time, I believe they had 3 out, and they needed somebody now. Munnerlyn was that guy. The Vikings got a great value out of him. You can't really go wrong with a 3rd-round pick. You get a 3rd-round pick. That's a pretty decently high pick in a draft that's usually full of young talent. So, yes, it was a great move by the Vikings. Many would say it was kind of iffy with Trey Waynes going down, and, you know, many of these defensive players believe that this team is Super Bowl ready, and even if it's not this year, next year, who knows how long Adrian Peterson has left. And if Adrian Peterson can hold out one more year with these draft picks, they have that opportunity to draft another player. I took some time to look at the Vikings defensive stats here through week 6, where we're sitting at, and they're about middle of the pack in total yards allowed. Their passing defense has allowed just over 1,000 yards, which is going to be understandable. Yes, your number 1 corner isn't there, but those other guys are holding off just as much. Their run defense is pretty great. They've only held their opposing teams to 490 yards total. They are 3-2 right now in the very tough NFC North, with the Bomber and the Lions in training the Packers and the Bears there, and who knows what's going to happen. They made a move that, if not this year, potentially next year, they set themselves up to make a huge push for the division, if not a wild card spot in the NFC. Again, it was a very smart move. You've still got Harrison Smith in that backfield, ball hawking over the middle. Right now, he's got 6 interceptions on the year, and he's playing phenomenal as he always does. So, yes, in a sense, it might have not been smart to ship another vet just in case somebody goes down, but the Vikings believed that they had the talent to let Munnerlyn go to the Patriots, who definitely needed the help, get those draft picks, stock them up for next year and the year after, and be ready to make a run here the next couple of years for that championship. Let's hit on some more recent news. We are currently in week 6 here in the MBL, and I'm looking at Jameis Winston's stats right now. He's only got 840 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions 6 weeks into the season. If that's not a red flag, I don't know what is. There's some work in Tampa Bay that needs to be done. Too many talented receivers there. Mike Evans, Vincent Jackson, Humphreys. You've got a dual-headed running back monster in Doug Martin and Charles Sims. There's just too much offense there to not score any points. Something's up. Winston is Pro Bowl talent. Great quarterback out of Florida State. He needs to throw more. Tampa Bay may be leaning on the rushing attack, which, looking at the stats, it's actually split between Martin and Sims, about 40 carries apiece 6 weeks in. So 6 games, 80 carries, you're looking at, over 10 carries a game for each player. They're barely over 200 yards rushing. There's clearly some offensive problems there in Tampa, and they need to be figured out quick, because the NFC South is packed full of talent, and there is no place to be at the bottom. If you're a fan of live play-by-play commentary, make sure to join us here soon. MBL Live coming up, Week 8, Browns and Jets. Going to be a close one. Make sure you jump in the chat, let us know you're there, and get ready for a great game. Near the end of the show, this last segment I'm going to use to bring you the most up-to-date story that has gotten my attention or that has hit my phone. This one is going to be the Atlanta and Buffalo trade. Atlanta sends Tevin Coleman and a 5th-round pick to Buffalo for their 2nd rounder. Kind of baffles me with Shady McCoy being the number 1 in Buffalo. You've got Reggie Bush there. He's a viable option. You can always pick somebody up off of a practice squad or at a free agency. I don't see the need to throw away your 2nd-round pick for Tevin Coleman. Yes, he is an average back. Yes, he's a great pass catcher. That's about all he offers you. McCoy is going to be your 3-down, in between the tackles, around the outside back. Coleman is just going to offer you some pass protection on 3rd down and maybe the occasional burst. I just don't see the purpose of this trade. Maybe it'll work itself out throughout the rest of the season, but as of right now, Atlanta got a steal, a 2nd-round pick for your backup. I mean, Devontae Freeman is a workhorse back. That's understandable. Bottom line, Atlanta wins this trade. 2nd-round pick you could easily use next year for another running back. Devontae Freeman, as long as he stays healthy, he's your every down back, and you can easily pick somebody up or move your next man up, whoever that is on the depth chart. Buffalo has a lot of explaining to do on whether or not they're going to go with Shady or Tevin Coleman. I don't know the route there. I don't know if they're going to split carries. I don't know how that's going to work, but there's some answers in Buffalo for this move, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out. And now we reach the end of this episode of MBL Blitz, the very first episode. It's going to be great. I thank everyone here for listening. If you haven't yet, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Twitter at Bomber League and at MBL Network. Also, go check out 365.maddenbomberleague.com if you're interested in anything else here in the MBL. Also, if you're looking to sign up and join this community, there's an application on the website to join our development league, The Grid, who also has a podcast titled The Lockdown. Look forward to that. Also, again, the Commissioner's Corner podcast will be dropping this weekend, and Lip and Bomber will be hitting on some other developing stories I haven't touched yet, as well as giving any other CFM managers out there tips and help in order to keep your leagues running constantly. Thank you all for listening, and I look forward to the next one.